Welcome back for another episode of SuperCrooks Unveiled. And in the world of supervillains, there was a time before Johnny, Ghost, Transmit, Roddy, Sammy, or any other character that we've seen before today. During this time, there reigned supreme several villains, and in the original days, there were various supervillains whom plagued society. Emerging from these villains was the great legend himself, the Heat. Fabled as an infamous heister, the Heat was a man unknown, robbing and melting the largest vaults of the world. It was never known how the Heat did this, always without a trace and without a single casualty to civilians. Well, turns out that was a lie. The Heat was actually caught several times as it would happen. This is exactly how he met one of the villains we unveiled in the last episode, Ghost. During Ghost's lonely stint in prison, the Heat saved him from a gang attack. This is where he met and mentored Ghost, and as it would have it, the Heat has also encountered and mentored our new telepath waifu, Casey, where he taught her the value of respecting her own power. Heat also mentored quite a few other villains, Sammy, Roddy, TK McCabe, and Walt Flanagan, who had an incredible ability to see 30 seconds into the future, and while you think that might be pretty cool, well, yeah. While at first the Heat appeared to be a sole enigmatic figure, we are shown that despite the legends, the Heat was just as flawed as any other villain. He had indeed been arrested and imprisoned, given he saved Ghost. He definitely has killed on the job, and to put it simply, Carmine was never actually superpowered. The Heat was actually the two guns he carried in a suit that one way or another allowed him to melt steel at impossible temperatures. The Heat, however, wasn't alone in his crusade for gaining more wealth and status. During the later years of his life, America started to consolidate a force of superheroes known as the Union of Justice. Having to engage with coordinated superheroes drove the Heat and several other villains to form an alliance of sorts, even moving overseas. One of these old villains was the mysterious Count Orlock, an incredibly powerful sorcerer capable of doing battle with a young utopian and Flair. We don't really get to see a lot of Orlock's power, but it's clear he was an incredibly powerful sorcerer, capable of levitation, transformation, and many more of these presented enough danger for Orlock to be considered the most, if not one of the most dangerous supervillains. However, after his battle with the Utopian and the Flair, his helmet was lost to the Union of Justice and thus his full power halved. During these days, they worked together to pave a future for all villains. But I'm forgetting one last important figure, and one who truly can't be forgotten. The Bastard, or respectfully Mr. Max, is the current most successful supervillain of all time. And with a title like that, The Bastard, you can only imagine what comes next. Max has stated he became a supervillain the day his mother's milk was so vile he exploded her head right there. You can see the Bastard is very good at blowing your mind, so to speak. And by that I mean we can determine the Bastard is a telepath very similar to Casey, except we don't see the theatrics of illusions or tricks or hallucinations like that we do with her. Max is more direct as in he explodes your skull with telekinetic pressure. To a degree I dare say we can call iconic. Once when the next supervillain had betrayed Max, we see he went through the extensive lengths of finding and killing every single soul that the villain held dear. His friends, family, drug dealers, favorite hookers, anyone connected to the man died. Over 200 people died before the Bastard's anger was satiated. He is as sadistic as supervillains come, art, taste, and all. Similar to the late and evil Joseph Stalin, Max will execute the first people to stop clapping after his speeches. Although one key thing to note about the Bastard is he has no care for surprises.
I hate being surprised more than any other thing in the entire breadth of the human experience.
And the Bastard has no nostalgia for his former cohorts. Thwarting an especially lengthy heist the Heat went through for Count Orlock, and well, to tie it all together, the three reunited in their old hideout where the Bastard proceeds to explode Count Orlock's skull. Max is smart and powerful enough to have superheroes the likes of the Praetorian under his control. He has enough political power to have free reign and control of Supermax, a prison he should very much so be in. And there's a lot to think about really when it just comes to the Bastard. Max fancies himself a connoisseur of the fine arts. From elaborate bourgeoisie art to Zen meditation rituals and embracing spirituality, even though he literally threatens the monk during these sessions. His rage is perhaps the most repulsive trait that he has. He once killed a prison guard simply for their phone ringing upon his arrival. Though he killed the wrong one, Max uses an old-style rifle that has no bullets in it. He simply uses the scope of the gun, as he puts it, as a focuser. This leads me to believe Max's powers have not specifically a range but a sight and focus mechanic, meaning if you were inside of a room with no doors or walls for the bastard to view you through, he wouldn't be able to shoot you. Granted, I could be wrong, cause he did kind of dump a drug dealer's taco inside of a bathroom stall, and we could go on and on with the details of SuperCrooks, but I fear we are drawing to an end for today's episode, folks. As always, thank you for viewing, and make sure you leave a like, subscription, and click that bell icon on the video if you think Count Orlock died for nothing.